firstly just give me your impression of Budget Kenya and then also Budget Tanzania and Uganda.
Thank you very much. My view on the budget, especially for Kenya, I feel it was a balanced budget. It touched on all aspects of the economy, namely transport, energy, education and health, and also agriculture. And then also, if you look at it, it was towards consolidation of the activities that will help us in achieving the Vision 2030. Again, looking at the budget for the other two countries as well, it touched on their critical sectors, agriculture, transport, mining for Tanzania, for example. And hence, in my view, I feel it was a very balanced budget.
All right, thanks a lot for that. Now, the finance minister anticipates growth this year to be around 4.5% and then next year rising to about 5.7%. And this growth will effectively support his spending plans. But there are concerns that maybe too much spending this time around. What's your view?
Yeah, too much spending. And again, as I said, if you look at most of the spending areas was highlighting, were actually targeted towards our Vision 2030. And the fact that he said that his budget is fully financed, i.e. he had a clear indication as to where he's getting the money to cover his deficit. The fact that also he's reduced the interest rate on the domestic borrowings, I'm seeing the government looking at some savings to come out of that. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we also pegging on the global economy picking up again, hence we'll see or we expect our exports to get demand and to continue receiving tourists in our country, which has actually quite improved if you compare where we came from in the 2008 financial year to last year. So as much as there seemed to be a lot of spending put in place, he seemed also to be focused as to where the source of the funds would be coming from.
All right, continuing on this issue of spending, Bernadette, we know that last year Kenya unveiled a stimulus package for the economy, and in fact some of that money will be rolled over into this financial year. So was there a need to just be a little bit more balanced about loosening the purse strings, not being overly zealous because you still have a rollover of the stimulus of the 2009 fiscus?
Again, I think the intention is right. Yes, we have challenges in the implementation, and that's what is causing the rollover of the funds, namely like procurement and the financial management systems that we have in place. I think it's something worth considering because that's the bureaucracy within government that has delayed a bit in the submission or in the remission of the money to the various areas they're intended for. I'm hoping that going forward, that's something he's going to consider, and especially given the fact that he was aware there were delays, and he said he's going to put that money back into vote for it to be available this financial year. So I think the intention again is right, and if we are to achieve our basic, the Vision 2030, because if you look at the economic stimulus is also built on that. Right. I guess it's critical the government looks at that. And given his commitment, I got a feeling that he's going to work on the challenges we've had in the past.
All right. Now, the Kenya Revenue Authority had suggested that they anticipate tax collection to come to about 60 billion Kenyan shillings for this year. But we've also seen the minister being quite generous with tax cuts and a reduction of import duties to facilitate Kenyan exports and to just ease the pressure on the consumer. So with less coming his way by way of tax collection, how is he going to sponsor this budget?
If you look at the target that was bid given to Kenya Revenue Authority, it's actually going up from, I think, 530 billion in the current year to about 600 billion. And again, if you compare the expected increment to the expected economic growth we are anticipating, in my view, it's achievable. And then if you also look at the past trends of Kenya Revenue Authority, the collections have been on the increase. And it seems like they're also improving on their efficiency. So I wouldn't say he was very ambitious in targeting that. But again, how the economy turns, especially the global economy, and the effect that will have on our economy is something we need to watch out for.
I'm glad you mentioned the issue of the global economy, because we've seen the Kenyan horticultural sector being affected by the Eurozone crisis and even, unfortunately, by the issue of the volcanic ash. So it's almost been a double whammy. And the tourism sector suffered due to post-electoral violence early 2007, and then the recession in Europe that affected visitor figures to Kenya. So you're seeing some members of the horticulture sector and also the tourism sector looking for some kind of additional funding from the budget to try to support the growth of these industries after these external shocks. What did the minister say to that effect?
I think the only things he touched a bit is on irrigation, i.e. that would perhaps help in terms of water availability or electricity. I quite remember him mentioning about any incentive that he plans to give to the horticultural farmers. However, I think also what has happened in the past, especially in Europe, may be an eye-opener to the farmers in Kenya, for example, to start thinking about diversifying the market. Maybe we could start focusing to the east, for example, considering that we all seem to rely so much on Europe, Amsterdam, to be specific. And then with the ash coming up, everything was put to a stop almost. So I imagine going forward, we'll also be looking toward diversification as well as getting means and ways of saving costs. And I think even as we go to improving our infrastructure, they may also get some savings out of that, which may reduce the impact they get. I do take your comment on the skirmishes, and it's something we hopefully and pray for that it will never recur.